name is Bo Adler, and yeah, Bo Adler. So I have these two friends who are, they work with the outdoor education program in California. They are naturalists, and the outdoor education program in California is where junior high school students go out into the woods for a week, and they work with naturalists and learn about nature and like experience life in the woods, you know, with all their best friends while they're there. And so my friends are really, really into that, and over the last year they've built up this huge fan base, I guess, of all these little kids who love them to death and think that like being out in the woods is the best thing ever. But the downside is that there's not enough money in California to help get everyone out there. I'm not sure about the details, but what I know my friends are doing is that they're hiking, they decided to hike the Pacific Crest Trail, which is a trail that starts down near Tijuana and goes from Mexico all the way up to Canada. So it's over 2,600 miles. And they're hiking that trail for the next 6 months or something like that, and to try to raise awareness and get sponsors to give them money, I guess donate money to help create scholarships for kids to go to these programs. And so, you know, before they left, they asked me for some advice about what they could do for getting the kids more involved and stuff. And I told them about the Quantified Self stuff that we do. And you know, we were trying to think, well, what sensors would be interesting for them to wear and stuff. But it's all, when it came right down to it, and they started figuring out what their trip was going to be about, they realized, well, every single ounce, you know, maybe doesn't matter for a day or two, but when you're hiking 2,600 miles, like you start to care about every little ounce that you're carrying. So you know, they got busy and I got busy and we dropped it. And then they left somewhere in the middle of April, and while they've been gone, I've been scratching my head because their mom is you know, entering the data in and like they're posting pictures through they have an iPhone, they take pictures along the way, and they're posting them up in these galleries. So I was clicking around on the different photos that they had here, and I brought up one, I clicked on the information on it, and I scrolled all the way, okay, so I picked the bad one. But you'll see on the fields, oh there it is, you'll see that they have GPS location and latitude. Oh, I forgot to say, so one of the things I did is like, I was talking to the mom and she was telling me that iPhones have this tracking ability where if your phone gets stolen, you can go to the Apple website and track where it is. And so we messed around with that for over an hour over the telephone trying to make it work, and it was beyond us, and we never got it working, so we kind of gave it up. And then while I was clicking around, I saw this GPS thing, and I started thinking, well, boy, they have all these photos that they're taking anyway. Oh, we did ask them to email us like their GPS coordinates. But they've only done it 3 times in the last month that they've been gone, and so I was thinking, well, 3 waypoints isn't going to give you anything useful that anyone will care about. And that's when I realized, well, if they had the GPS coordinates in the photos, then I could write a program that would download all the photos and, you know, create one of those cool maps that everybody else has on, you know, like Craigslist apartments or whatever you have. So I sat down one weekend and I wrote up some code to download all the photos and do that. And well, it turns out it's a heck of a lot harder to do than you would imagine, but I did get something working. So if you zoom out, the red line on the map is the actual Pacific Crest Trail and goes all the way around, basically following the spine of the Sierras, or one of the spines of the Sierras. And then the yellow trail is what they've done so far. And so it's really cool because you can see that it is kind of following the trail, and it's only when you zoom in, like one of these regions, that's where, yeah, you can see like this point over here isn't actually on the trail, and this point over here is really far off the trail, and so there's all these inaccuracies that you would expect to find with GPS, especially when you're out in the woods. But for the point of getting kids involved and everything, it was really cool. So the things that I learned, Gary's always asking, what I learned is there's a lot more information about you and where you've been on the net than you would even expect that you're sharing. They were just sharing photos. They have no idea that I'm doing this. Like, it was just, I was scratching my head and there you go. And doing KML was a lot harder than I expected, partly because the documentation is not so fun. And then
what is KML?
KML, I don't know. You have to ask.
It's Keyboard Markup Language.
Oh yeah, that's not
It was called Keyboard before it became Adler.
And then the last thing I found out, which I really also didn't know, is that once you have one of these files that Google Earth knows about how to show things, is you can just give a URL to Google Maps and it'll load the file in and then show the same trail that way. So even though, I mean, so one of the problems is, okay, great, I did this cool Google Earth thing, but how many of those junior high school kids have Google Earth or know how to use it? And the answer is probably 0. So what we're probably going to do is just include a link to the Google's map thing too, so the kids can. So if you guys have any suggestions on what else I could do with this geographic data to try to get the kids more engaged, I'm open to suggestions.
Okay, well, I have a question.
Yeah.
And this seems obvious and has come up a lot in QS context. Taking the GPS data or the location data that's in the photos and turning it into an app of some kind.
Right.
Why is it so hard? Just walk us through this a little bit. Like it should be really easy. Just take the GPS coordinates out, put them in a database. You know, I mean, just walk us through it.
I mean, getting the data out in the first place was hard. Like, I don't work with images every day, right? So I was like, okay, I know it's exit data, but how do I get it out? And on the mobile me site, it just so happens that they make it available through a web interface. So I'm like, okay, rather than me learning like what Linux tool, like, you know, instead of downloading each of the images, which I don't know how big they are, but I imagine that's a lot of data, I figured I would just write my program to grab the exit data directly from the website, since Apple has already done the hard stuff. And I know that there's other websites. Oh, I guess to answer a different way, other websites like Picasa and Flickr, I found out while I was doing this, already when you upload your images to galleries and stuff, they'll build these files for you and do this automatic stuff. So that's really cool, but Apple doesn't have that. And I can't call up my friends in the woods and say, can you please switch to Picasa? Especially because you want it to be easy, right? Like, they have no idea what's going on. They're just using the tool, the iPhone that they have with them, and there's some way that it automatically uploads. I don't even know what that is. Like, I couldn't do it myself if I tried.
Actually, the Flickr iPhone app, which they could download while they're traveling,
and that's
free, and the upload interface is really easy. And I have used the Flickr API. It's super.
But when you say really easy, do you have to click on each image one at a time, or does it like do batch uploads? Because that's what would be necessary for them, right? So
yeah,
I've
only done it one at a time.
I mean, it's not really hard. Now that I've written the code, like, you know, I have it in one of my virtual machines there, and it'll take a second to run. It's really, you know, I wanted it to be like an hour or two project, not like a 2-day project where I'm just like trying to learn all these cryptic APIs for these different services that I just don't care about and I don't work with every day. So that's what's hard. I don't do it every day.
Good answer.
One idea would be to leverage the Flickr and Picasa data set so that whenever they get to a certain spot, you can see all the other pictures that were taken there.
That's a great idea, actually. Can you do queries by GPS location?
You're asking
I mean,
why
this
not.
is like the photosynth stuff that Microsoft does, right? Great, that is a great idea.
Great.
Have you looked at how fast they're moving? Can you like?
I did. Oh, that was a good one. You know, because the whole.
Repeat the question.
Oh yeah. So Robin's asking, have I looked at how fast they're moving, right? And I didn't actually look at it from the GPS coordinates, right? Because I'm not sure what I'm doing, and also going back to the Google Earth thing, you can see that what I have is I don't have them following the trail, so I know that the actual miles that they've walked is much farther than what I have information on. So I could try to count it, but I figured rather than doing that, because it's like one of these big popular trails that lots of people are hiking, they have these mile markers, and so in their blog posts every once in a while they say, oh, we just passed mile marker 100, and the last email that they sent, I guess on Sunday, said that they passed mile marker 259.6 or something like that. And so somewhere, let's see, can you see it? Maybe you can't read it, but I do have the text there. I did the calculation, and so they're claiming that they're going to be done by middle of September, maybe end of September. According to my calculations, they're going to be landing on November 12th. so I'm figuring, you know, with all the mountains and everything, maybe there's a really flat part near the end where they'll get to catch up on all those days. But I did do that.
Yes, right here.
So one idea is you could have kids guess on when they're actually going to arrive.
Oh, that's a good idea too.
And
I need to write these down.
Maybe
Oh yeah. So he's making a suggestion of one idea would be to have like a pool, a betting pool, and have kids guess when are they going to actually be done. And you know, okay, so I have this mathematical computation, but you know, everyone believes in the power of these two kids that are walking, and like they'll do it sooner.
So another thing you can do with it is if you have other stats like how many miles they went, or the GPS, at least with the waypoints you have, you could get elevation changes, so how high and low they've gone. But any of these streams of data, maybe you could provide each of them as a separate set of markers, and then kids could do mashups like there's the map of Napoleon's march into Russia and back,
right.
which has multiple dimensions that show like the size of the army going in and the size of the army
that's
coming
very
out.
cool. Yeah.
So they could maybe make their own visualizations of correlations between data, like how much weight did they lose over the whole trail.
So let me remind you that they're junior high school students, but it's a great idea. I mean, I wish I had time to do that.
This might get a little bit complicated, but you can almost do the reverse, is have the kids publish out data for them to retrieve.
Oh, like geocaching, you know, having hidden
Yeah,
things.
totally.
That's a great idea too, actually. Yeah, I tried that once in Germany, and it turned out to be a national holiday, and I met a lot of drug people that tried to kill me. But it's a great idea.